see you at the top. That's where I go.
Welcome back to another episode of the See You at the Top podcast. My name's Kirby. This is the man Jordan. And our mission here at Kirby Better is to make the world a better place, one person at a time. It all starts with you. And I realized that it had to start with me. I couldn't help anybody else out until I became the best version of myself. And that's why we decided to start with my story. And Jordan's going to take us away in the third and final episode of my Kirby Better story.
All right. How you doing, Kirby?
Doing great, my man.
Good. Just like you said, this is episode 3. We're going to start off with some bullet points just to kind of catch up to people, remind you as well as we enter this third episode. Just to summarize, what we talked about so far. Kirby, your parents had they went through a divorce together, right? When you were a kid, you're labeled ADD and ADHD. They say you have OCD, call it one of your biggest weaknesses. We move forward in your life. You're doing drugs, you're smoking cigarettes, weed, getting kicked out of school multiple times, even arrested, which we don't have to go super deep into those stories, right? Started boxing, became inspired, got the Be Better mindset, but you wanted more. We're playing college tennis. You're starting to build a business. Your dad's telling you you're not a hard worker. Man, when we say it like this is a crazy story. This is wild. Okay. We keep going. You realize Tom Cruise is the same as you are, right? He's just working harder. That's why he was in that position that he is. And so, you find the answer to what you're looking for. You're searching. You get Dr. John DeMartini's speech, and he really just kind of sets your life in this next motion of how, what we all see you as now. And so, just to kind of go with that, what was that initial reaction after you kind of had this inspiring moment, to begin your journey towards Kirby Better?
Right. Wow. What an intro there, Jordan. It's definitely been a long ride to get to where I am now. The crazy thing is I'm just getting started. So after I took that value test, I was up for 2 days straight. I literally couldn't sleep. I was on fire. I can't take myself back to another moment where I felt that type of inspiration, that type of fire inside of me. I was wired for 2 days straight, and really for, the course of a couple weeks after that. And I just couldn't sleep, and I was thinking about all these ideas over and over in my mind, trying to put a lot of the stuff that we're working on right now together. Stay tuned, because we're just getting started.
Right. So, initially, how many people did you tell about, this new Be Better movement? And,
Right.
What were you doing during those 2 days that you were awake? Were you just contemplating new ideas? Were you, deciding, how do I go with this? Who do I tell? I mean, what was going through your head during that process?
I was just having tons and tons of thoughts processing, about really how to turn my dreams into reality. And it was just a lot of deep, deep thinking. And, to answer your question, I really wasn't talking about it to too many people. I was talking about it with my girlfriend at the time, Brescia. Wasn't really hanging out with anybody during this course of a couple weeks, just really trying to process this massive bolt of energy that I got. It was pretty amazing. And I was watching a lot of different people that I was inspired by at the time. I was really going through Instagram and social media. Instagram was really big and starting to really boom at the time. This was 2.5 years ago. And I was just looking at these people that inspired me, like Dr. DeMartini, Lewis Howes. I started listening to podcasts, and I was looking exactly at what they were doing. I was like, man, these guys, they're not really working, man. These guys are living in their dreams, man. They're making money, having fun. Of course, it's not all fun and games, but these guys are truly, doing amazing things in the world. And I was, really looking after them, and I started to try to think of my own vision. But, I feel like when it comes to success, when it comes to people that have already done something amazing in the world, you don't necessarily have to completely rewrite the ship. You can emulate what they're doing, see what the characteristics and the traits that you're most inspired by in them, and find it in yourself. And I was finding all these different things within myself, and I started to really put it together, and just every single day from that moment.
Right. And so, now, we have Movement Monday, we have Tip of Tuesday, we have, all these different things that you're doing. Were those always there from the start, or was it one thing and then led to more stuff?
Great question. So it was really one thing originally, and that original thing is the Tip of Tuesday, which I know a lot of people follow out there. And I looked at a lot of these people that already had established movements, inspirational movements, and I said, And I said, it seems like they all have kind of a set day. Dr. DeMartini, he would send out kind of a Monday inspirational email with like a beautiful quote. And a few of the other people had like set days. One other guy had something like a Monday minutes. And I said, to really get this started, I had these big visions, but you have to start somewhere. A lot of people have these huge visions, but the hard part, like I've said, is the execution, and it's step by step, brick by brick. So for me to start to lay that brick down, I needed a set day to really give a tip, give an inspiration, whatever it is. And I just was thinking about it for a few days, and Tip of Tuesday just came to me. I think a lot of times when you're tapping into your potential, things kind of just come to you. You don't really have to you don't hear it from somebody else. It just comes from the universe. That's what inspiration is. It just comes from the higher power.
Right. And so, you said you were doing the Tip of Tuesday first. Were people buying into it? Were people not buying into it? Were you buying into it?
I was buying into it for sure, because from that day that I took that value process, and I recommend everybody out there to take Dr. DeMartini's value determination process. It takes 20 minutes and it's free. Ever since I took that process, I'm moving forward, man, and I will not stop. And I remember that I had no idea what I was doing. I took my phone out and I said, I got to do this Tip of Tuesday. I'm not going to lie, I was definitely insecure, wanting to take that first step. Maybe I thought about it. It might have taken me a couple, I don't know the exact time to get the courage to just go do it. But I feel like, once again, when you're truly aligning with what you want to do, you're going to do whatever it takes to get there, because you're super inspired to do it. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm ready to put myself out there. I know I'm doing this for the right reasons. It's not about the money. It's about the inspiration. And I took my phone out and I took it and I just said, what's going on, everybody? It's Tip of Tuesday. And I probably was looking over here when I should have been looking right here. I was looking at the camera wrong. And, I've showed you some of those first Tip of Tuesdays. And you've actually mentioned to me like, wow, it's amazing how much you've grown and where I am now with my public speaking abilities. But I just started doing it from that day. And definitely a lot of people kind of looked at it and were kind of like, what are you doing? Kind of laughed at it a little bit. Not like a massive amount of hate came on, but just I could sense people weren't really feeling it early on. And they were kind of just like, what are you doing? But then again, I did have some friends that were very encouraging, almost from the very first one, and were like, hey, man, I see what you're doing. And a lot of my friends now that said that, hey, I even had a friend call me a few weeks ago asking for some advice. And he said, hey, man, I really see, I'm not even going to lie. I'm going to be straight up with you. I was laughing at these Tip of Tuesdays when I first saw them on Facebook and Snapchat, but you know what? I watch every single one of them now. So the bottom line is, man, everybody's not going to like what you're doing. And when you have so much courage to just put yourself out there like that, it's not easy. And people want to do that. I don't care what anybody says. People really want to inspire others. People want to maximize their lives to their fullest potential. So people just, were seeing me put myself out there, and they thought it was a little bit goofy. And at the end of the day, it probably was, but at least I had the courage to do it. And I've been actually super consistent with that Tip of Tuesday ever since. I've missed, in 2.5 years, coming up on almost 3 years, I've missed literally 2 Tip of Tuesdays. One Tip of Tuesday, I accidentally deleted my Instagram, which we can get into later in the interview. And the other one, I went and did a 10-day silent meditation retreat where I didn't use my phone or talk, and I didn't have a team or anything around me. So I've been super consistent with it.
That's kind of part of Kirby Better now. But, I guess I want to know, and I'm sure other people want to know, where did the Kirby Better come from? Like this idea, the logo, the name, all of that.
Definitely. So after I founded Kirby Better, well, at the time it was just at Kirby Chenkin is what I was calling it. I was thinking about all these ideas, and I said, wow, I really want to figure out a way to get paid doing what I love. Do a Tip of Tuesday to inspire people, be able to go to the gym and make tons of money, one day, potentially make millions of dollars by going to the gym, inspiring others to lose weight. I had to come up with a name for this movement. I had the vision in my mind. I started to write it down. I started to turn it into, a reality slowly but surely, and I had to come up with a name. So I ended up contacting my stepsister at the time. Her name is Julia Jameson. And at the time, she was the most creative person that I knew with coming up with these creative, funny, captivating slogans for her Instagram posts. And I said, Julia, I called her. I said, hey, I have this movement. We've been following each other. You see what I'm doing. It would be awesome if you could come up with a name for my movement. And she goes, oh, and I don't know if I'm good at it. Or I said, Julia, you're the most creative person I know when it comes to coming up with these captions. And she goes, okay, I'm up for it. So a couple months went by, and we ended up meeting for Thanksgiving at my mom's house in Sugar Land. And I went up to Julia, right before dinner, and I said, Julia, have you come up with a name yet? And she goes, Yeah, I have, but I just don't know if you're going to like it. I'll throw it at you anyways. And she goes, Kirby Better. And a lot of times I would react real quick in the past. I was a very fast thinker. But this time it just hit me and I just observed it. I didn't really jump to conclusion. And I went and sat on the couch and I said, oh my gosh, I love this name. And it just started to build on me, like build and build. And I said, I've been telling myself this every single day ever since I walked in that boxing gym. Literally, I had been telling myself every single day, you got to get better, Kirby. You're not good enough. Let's get better. Let's get better. Come on. And it just rang with me immediately. I went to my phone, opened my Instagram, changed the account, didn't even think about it. It felt right, and you got to listen to that voice inside, which I keep telling people out there. You got to listen to your intuition. And I changed the name, and I went over to the Thanksgiving table, and I told my mom and my stepsister, and they kind of heard it, but they didn't really give me too much of a reaction. Then I started to tell my friends and the people I was close with about it, and they didn't really like it at first, to be honest. And it's it's kind of funny to me because now looking back on it, this is the absolute perfect name for the Kirby Better movement. And I say that with every ounce of energy in my heart, that it is the perfect name for the Kirby Better movement. But at first, people weren't very receptive to it. But now a lot of people think it's catchy. Me and you were actually on a Zoom call today. What did the guy say?
He said, I really like that logo right there.
And the name, too. It's very catchy. So at the end of the day, when you got to just eliminate what others are saying, because they can quickly steer you off course and they can get in your head. And you just got to listen to that voice that's inside of you.
Right. And so, just kind of going back on other stuff that we talked about in the previous podcast, we talk about your inspiring moments. You graduate, you point up to the heavens, right? Like all the sports athletes, or, you get to play college tennis and you're locked in with the Beats headphones, listening to Eminem. Was this moment when Kirby Better really came together, was it higher, lower, or equal to those other inspiring moments?
It's the highest of the highs, man. That was definitely a high moment when I graduated college, but nothing can match Kirby Better to how high this thing has gotten me. And of course, balance is the key. It's about the lows and the highs, but from an energy and an inspirational perspective, it is the high of the high. It's the pinnacle. And that's why Kirby Better truly is the best version of Kirby Chenkin. It's that voice inside my head that's just constantly steering me right. When I'm sitting on this couch over here and I want to watch Netflix and I don't want to go work out, it's that Kirby Better voice that pops in my head. When I announced this 2020 ab challenge yesterday for Movement Monday and I was getting ready to go to sleep and forgot to do it, it's that voice in my head that says, get your butt outside right now, get some movement in, and do the 2020 ab challenge because you told people you're going to do it. So it's this voice that's steering me in the right direction. And I feel like when you're fully aligning and when you're doing what you love and loving what you do, and when you turn it into a mission, when you turn it into a business, that things will naturally fall into place. And I'm not saying you put your feet up on this couch here and just pray and bang, all of a sudden all your dreams come true. But it's just this internal feeling inside that just says, keep going, Kirby, keep going. You're moving in the right direction and things will kind of just naturally fall into place. And that's really what's happened with me with Kirby Better. I've been working harder than I've ever thought, I would be able to. I'm waking up every morning working on these companies every single day. And I just feel like I'm in such a different space when it comes to work. I truly put everything into business, but I feel like things will just naturally keep falling into place because I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it for the right reasons. And the more you focus on doing things for the right reasons, you can make more money. But then you take that money and you value it and you put it into other sources to go out and inspire others and make the world a better place. You don't use it just for yourself.
All right. So you were talking about, you can't just lay on the couch 30 feet up and pray everything happens. And you're talking about the highs and lows, was everything going smoothly? Did you have little bumps in the road? I know you've done a lot of business with your dad. Was that relationship still going at each other?
Transition me into one of the stories with my dad. I see you there, slick move there. So definitely things, I don't think things all continuously just go smoothly because then, what would life be if everything was just flat line? It'd be boring. Life is a roller coaster, ups and downs, but there was one story, and this was there was two key events that really happened that just proved this whole thing to me and just really took me to that next level. One of them was I was playing in a paddle tournament at the Houstonian, and we were playing Team Dallas. They beat us fair and square that day, but I just remember whenever my dad would watch me play tennis throughout my entire childhood, I had more breakdowns than you can imagine. I broke more tennis rackets than I think any professional tennis player on the circuit. And I just remember my dad then came and he started watching me play paddle. I transitioned into the sport paddle, which is a very similar sport to tennis. And I'm playing in this tournament and we're getting crushed by Team Dallas. And I was taking it to heart. And eventually I just had enough is enough. And I had a brand new paddle at the time. And I just said, enough is enough. I cracked. And I took the paddle and I just went whop, whop. And they're very hard paddles. It's not like a tennis racket. And the paddle cracked over my head. And I actually heard a little boom, like a little buzz sound inside, and I have a boxing background, so I know what that means. That means that's like the initial stage of a concussion. That means that you actually shook the skull enough to where your brain hit it. And I just remember my dad going, "Kirby, what are you doing? What are you doing, Kirby? You freaking don't act like that." And I said, "Dad, get out of here. What are you doing? Get out." We started hollering and screaming at each other at the top of our lungs. And all these people that were definitely, a lot of them were inspired by Kirby Better, they were watching this breakdown. And they're like, wow, this kid, is an inspiring person. And at the end of the day, I just stormed off that court and pretty much told my dad to get away from me. And I'm walking to the locker room, and we ended up losing. That was the last match. But I just remember walking back to the locker room and just saying, like, how could I let something like this happen? This is not me. I'm Kirby Better. I don't do stuff like this, man. I don't break down on court. That's the old Kirby. I don't do stuff like this. And I remember getting in the shower that day and just crying in the shower. I just started crying because I realized that I put my health in jeopardy. And health is the most important thing in this world to me, mental, physical, and spiritual. And I just remember saying I could have killed myself. And I'm supposed to be this really, outstanding, inspiring citizen. How could I let something like that happen? And I was just crying. And I ended up leaving the Houstonian, and I came right back to my place, and that chair sitting right over there, that's my thinking chair. I sat down in that chair. The old Kirby would have went and called his friends and wanted to party, smoke some weed, go drink, go out, go on a binge for a week. But I went right into that chair right when I walked in that door, and I was crushed because I felt like I let so many people down, and I let myself down because that's not the character that I feel like Kirby Better has. And I told myself when I was sitting in that chair, I said, what can I learn from this? And that's exactly what Kirby Better is. It's this voice inside my head that's constantly moving me forward, constantly teaching me lessons. And Kirby Better showed me exactly what the problem was. Through the help of Brescia, because she's very, very schooled on her father's work, which is absolute genius work. It's the best work in the personal development space. We realized that the reason I had that breakdown was because I was doing it for the wrong reasons. I wasn't playing that paddle tournament and trying to do it for myself. Kirby Better, I'm doing for myself, nobody else. I'm trying to make the world a better place. But when it came to paddle, when it came to tennis, when it came to trying to play college tennis, when it came to try to play basketball for Duke University, I was doing it for my dad. My dad's number one thing that he wanted to do as a child was he wanted to be a professional baseball player for the New York Yankees, and he wasn't able to achieve that. So he put every sports ball that you could possibly imagine in my crib, and he's been telling me from the day that I was born, you're going to be the greatest athlete ever, Kirby. You are going to be one of the greatest superstar athletes to ever walk the face of this earth. So I was trying to impress my dad, because every kid wants to impress their parents. So it was my way of trying to impress my dad. But when you're doing things for other people, you're not going to get there. You're not going to get it done. You're going to get injured over and over like I kept getting injured. You're going to have these mental breakdowns because it's not for yourself. And when you do it for yourself, that's when you get to the top. And that's what I realized. And I had completely stopped playing paddle that day for anybody else but myself. And I stopped doing things in that moment for other people. And it's that ego. And I've been getting my ego in check more than I thought possible, from that day. And I've been listening to this voice inside of me telling me, are you doing it for others? Are you getting this nice car for others? And, a lot of people out there don't even know this, but I'm willing to say it on camera. I don't drive a Tesla anymore. I drive a Fiat. You know why I drive a Fiat? I do that for myself because I realized that I needed these freaking nice cars, and people would think of me differently if I didn't have a nice car. I'm in a Fiat right now, and I'm doing that for myself, and I'm getting a lot of growth from it because the cars, the clothes, that's not what matters.
Right. Definitely super true there. And, just to kind of, a lot of people like to hear about, the not always positive stories, right? So did you have any other moments, where you kind of maybe went into a rage or you kind of lost it or, you got really upset with yourself or somebody else?
Definitely. So like I said, thanks for bringing me back there. There was 2 powerful lessons I learned within 1 week, probably top 5 biggest lessons I ever learned. So I had that mental breakdown and I overcame it. I worked through it and I realized exactly what the blessing, exactly what the lesson was in it. And I did. I figured out exactly what it was, and I started doing things for myself. And then 1 week later, I went to delete an account that we created for my father's law firm. I went on Instagram to delete this account, and I put in the wrong email, and the account completely deleted. And I was just like, I was moving so fast. I had all these things to do, and I realized the account was deleted. I immediately went on Instagram, went on the blogs, and Instagram told me, once you delete an account permanently, that's it. There's no bringing this thing back. And I was just like, I was shocked at first, and I had put so much work into Kirby Better. I'm talking about every single day for a year and a half, just putting energy into it, getting on Instagram, going and liking people's stuff, looking at all this stuff, just thinking of these visions, and it was gone. And I broke down. I had a desk sitting right here at the time. I smashed the desk. I took my iPhone. I shouted it all over the floor. I said, oh my gosh, this is the old Kirby. What are you doing here, Kirby? This is not who you are anymore, man. But at the end of the day, we're all human beings, okay? The greatest entrepreneurs, the greatest leaders, the top health experts, whoever you are, you have moments of challenge. You have moments where you do things that nobody's perfect. That's the bottom line. So I went right back to that thinking chair, and I got to work. Kirby Better popped in my head, and I said, what can I learn from this? I realized that I was addicted to social media, that I was constantly checking my numbers over and over again, and I was constantly comparing myself to other people, looking at these people that I was inspired by. How do they have all these views, followers? And I was beating myself up every day, and I was on the platform for hours on hours, just beating myself up that I wasn't getting the traction I felt like I deserved because I was putting in so much work. And I realized that I was highly addicted to social media and that I wasn't staying true to the mission that I was on. And that's why in that moment I said, why are you doing this, Kirby? And I learned the lesson in that thinking chair. It took me probably 4 or 5 hours of just sitting there. But I said, let's get back to why you started this in the first place. You started this to make the world a better place, to listen to the inspiration behind your grandmother, to go out and help others out. This movement was my first thing that wasn't about others. That wasn't about me. It was about helping out others. Everything else was about just making money, getting to the top quickly. This was truly about going out and trying to inspire others and help others in need. And I said, I'm going to get back to the original message. And it's not about the vanity. It's not about all this other stuff. And in that moment, I started to realize that I didn't have to get on social media that much. And actually, my policy that I have today, and which I learned from this experience, is I only get on Instagram 1 day a week. Yes, me and you get on and we, and I post and I check different things. But in terms of consuming others' content, I don't consume others' content. I consume others' content 1 day a week, and I have a 100 policy. I follow 100 of the most inspiring people that I'm inspired by, and it's give or take that. I don't know the exact number. And I look at their content once a week, and I look at it to gain inspiration from it and to see how I can learn from what they're doing. And I don't look at everybody's content anymore like I used to. And I feel like I'm all about just using social media as a tool. And I realized that not only was I addicted, but the world is addicted to social media. And these phones and these smartphones can truly run us one day. That movie, The Terminator, it can become a reality. I know it. It truly can. And that's why people like Elon Musk and Bill Gates have spoke about that. It's something that we must get control over. And you must be able to control your addiction towards the smartphone, or one day, who knows?
Right. And, that's definitely a big thing in this society is just technology is just taking over, and it's causing us to lose sight of what's important as well.
Yeah.
And so I think that, we just gotta, it can be used for great things. We use social media to brand, to market, but social media can also,
and to inspire others and to touch, billions of people all over the world with the touch of a finger. But definitely people got to get in the moment and realize that, as my beautiful neighbor says, Sarah, moments truly matter. What me and you are doing right now matters. My phone's over here. I'm locked in on this interview right now.
Exactly. So, so Kirby Better within yourself is definitely taken off. Are you, one of the big slogans with Kirby Better is see at the top, all right? See it everywhere, say it all the time, all right? As much as you possibly can. Where did that come from? Just like from you as a kid saying, like, I know you said I want to get a lot of money and just get to the top as fast as I can.
Definitely.
Did it come from that, or was it something else?
So see at the top originally came from my dad. And, a few months after starting Kirby Better, I hadn't seen him in some time. He was in a bit of a rut. And I hadn't seen him since I started Kirby Better. So we were hanging out. And I was showing him my videos because I was most inspired by Kirby Better. And at the time, I used to end all my videos with let's continue to get better every day and become the best versions of ourselves, or something along those lines. And my dad goes, Kirby, I truly love everything that you're doing. It really is amazing. But you ought to end every one of your videos with "see you at the top." And I said, Dad, all due respect, you've been in a rut. I've been waking up every morning, busting my butt, working as hard as I can possibly imagine. I know what I'm doing here. And he goes, well, I understand, Kirby. It is amazing what you're doing, but I think it'd be cool to end every one of your videos with "see you at the top." And I said, Dad, I truly do appreciate your feedback, but I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, and I'm going to end my videos with "let's continue to get better every day and become the best versions of ourselves." Something, definitely cheesy looking back on it. And I hadn't seen my dad in some time, so it was one of the most inspiring and greatest conversations I ever had with my dad. I really remember it like it was yesterday. We had a great conversation, and he drops me back off at my place right downstairs from where we are right now. And he drops me off, and I say, Dad, I love you so much. I'll see you again real soon. And I get out of his car, and I start walking to my door. And right before I get to my door, my dad honks the horn. And I turn around, and he rolls the window down, and he says, Kirby, see you at the top. Whew, man, it hit me like a rock that day, and I was thinking about it. I walked back upstairs to right here, and I was thinking about it some more, and I absolutely love it, and I've been rocking with it ever since. And, those of you that know me know that I've been using it in almost every single one of my videos since that day, and that's how I came up with the saying, see you at the top.
Okay, so that's how "see you at the top" came by, right? So now we're really getting, Kirby Better is really starting to set its foundation. But, I got to ask too, since, that business wasn't booming quite yet, did you have any other, business ventures that you were, taking responsibility for at that time?
You saying I was a struggling entrepreneur or what? Now,
we're all there at some point.
No, definitely. Hey, man, the struggle was definitely real, and Kirby Better still to this day doesn't make any money. And it's because I'm taking the long route with it. I have had opportunities to make money, but that's not what I'm doing it for. That will come. So like I said early on in this podcast, when you're doing what's right and you're listening to that voice inside, and when you're doing things for the right reasons, not for the money, but for the inspiration, for the mission, things will fall into place. And something that fell into place was I ended up ended up having a meeting with this videographer that had this beautiful studio in his house. And he was like, hey, yeah, you can definitely come use my studio, and you can start shooting your Tip of Tuesdays here, because I was trying to definitely improve my Tip of Tuesdays, constantly trying to improve. And I went over there, and it was a beautiful Tip of Tuesday. And without getting into too many details, he was having a bad day, to say the least. And he was in a very one-sided state of mind. And he had just got screwed in a deal, and he was just kind of, I can't seem to, I'm having this issue. I keep getting screwed over and over. I don't know why this keeps happening to me. And I said, whoa. Kirby Better pops into my head, and I say, hey, I'm trying to inspire people. That's the mission I'm on, to make the world a better place. Let's help him out right here, right now. And I said, hey, and this was actually 1 week after, I'm just realizing this in the moment, this was actually 1 week after those two very powerful lessons that I learned. Literally, I don't even think it was 1 week later after those two powerful lessons. It wasn't actually, now that I remember this. And he goes, and I said, hey man, I actually just had two of the most devastating moments in my life, the most challenging moments in my life, and I learned all this knowledge and all this inspiration from it. I'm like, hey, one door closes, my friend, another opens up. It's all in your perspective. Just open your eyes and keep moving forward. That next door is going to open before you know it. And I appreciate your feedback, and I ended up shooting the Tip of Tuesday after kind of working with him for quite some time. And then he ends up calling me the next day. He goes, you know how you said that door would open up real soon? Well, it opened up. You got to get over here right away. And we ended up talking about this concept, which is now car accident solution. And he's definitely somebody who helped spark the inspiration and ignite car accident solution. And I started working on car accident solution, which once again is a mission-driven business. And they all told me I got to go to law school. You got to go to law school, Kirby. Got to go to law school. And at the end of the day, car accident solution is in the legal industry, but it's also in the medical industry. And health is what I love more than anything in this world. So now I'm actually learning so much about this space. Car accident solution is a network of ERs, chiropractors, physical therapists, Sculpt You, and a lot of these other different medical providers. And I'm learning so much about the medical space, about the imaging space. And that's why I feel like when you're truly moving in the right direction, that voice inside of you, when you're doing what you love, when you're aligning with your values, as Dr. DeMartini says, things will naturally fall into place. And ever since I started Car Accident Solution, I've had more synchronicities. I mean, me and you have talked about synchronicities, and a synchronicity to me is that sign from the higher power, that sign from the universe that says, keep going. Don't give up. You're going in the right direction. Maybe it's your favorite number. I know a lot of people love the number 1111. At Kirby Better, we love the number 3, mind, body, soul. Maybe it's that you keep seeing somebody and like all of a sudden you're at a car wash and you think about somebody and then bang, they pop up right in front of you and you're like, oh my gosh, that's a coincidence. There's no such thing as coincidence, my friend. It's all part of the design, and it's all happening just as it's supposed to. And I've had so many of these synchronicities, and actually, I'll tell you one of the biggest synchronicities I've had of them all. One of the synchronicities was with the name Kirby Better. So the synchronicity I had with that is that my grandmother is so inspirational in my life. She is so important in my life. I love my grandmother more than I can put into words. And she passed away a few months before I started Kirby Better. And she passed away, from ALZ, Alzheimer's, which is a disease where you lose your memory. It's a health condition. And it was just so hard on me because there was nobody else I loved seeing as a child than my grandmother. Of course, I love my mom and my dad, but I just remember sitting by the door for hours on hours waiting for her to come in town from Alabama. I love her more than I can put into words right here. And she passed away. But one thing that my grandmother continuously emphasized to me over and over again is, Kirby, it's bigger than us. This world is bigger than us. You have to help others out. You have to go out and give. And she was that incredible lady that my grandfather would give her a $200 budget to go give. And she would see one of those commercials of, starving children in Africa, and she would give triple that. And then she would say, we got to help out, Arnold. That's my grandfather's name. So she expressed to me giving and helping others out. And I feel like she passed away, but I felt like she was still here with me. And I just kept feeling her. I felt her essence. I felt her presence spiritually with me. And I just kept saying, man, my grandmother would just be so proud of me, man. She really would just love everything that I'm doing right now, because for the first time, I'm on a mission, not for myself, but for others, to listen to what she was telling me my entire life, to go out and help others out. And I just felt like she was here with me. And then one day, about 2 months into starting Kirby Better, about 2 months after finding the name Kirby Better, I just said, God, give me a sign. I was on my way to the gym to work out, and I just felt very connected to her. I was having a very, you could say emotional in a way, just a very, very, spiritual day. And I just said, God, please give me a sign that my grandmother is still here with me. I feel her, and she would just be so proud of me, and I know she's here with me. So please, God, give me the sign. I know she's here with me. And I feel like a lot of times you have to ask, and I asked. And then within minutes, I looked down at my phone, and at the time, I didn't have a logo or anything. I had Kirby Better, and it was just, everything was lowercase at the time with just a capital K. And I looked down at my phone, and a tear of inspiration just drips down my eye. And I was shocked. It was one of those, hyper volts going through your body. And I just looked down and I said, oh my gosh, God gave me the sign. She's been here with me this entire time. My grandmother's name was Barbara Barbin. Bobby, we used to call her BB, Bobby, and Barbara Barbin. And if you look down at this shirt right here, those two B's were lowercase at first. And right now, I don't have the full logo shirt on right now, but I capitalized those two B's. And that's her name, and Be Better. And that's exactly what my grandmother always emphasized to me, to be better and go out and make the world a better place. And she was with me this entire time. And that's what I'm saying. When you're doing what's right, things like that will happen. It seems too good to be true, but it's not. Because when you're tapping into the higher power, when you're tapping into the universe, the most magical things can happen. And there's a whole bunch of magical things that have happened. And you know what? I know my grandmother's still here with me right now. And if you're listening to this, Bobby, I'm sure you are. I want to let you know that I love you more than I can put into words. And I'm never going to give up on this mission. And I'm going to go out and make this world a better place. And I'm going to do everything I can to help people with their health and help put an end to Alzheimer's. We can end Alzheimer's if we come together. Unity and one.
Absolutely. That's a super powerful story. And, to ask you too, with these, emotional highs and these business highs, so many highs, are you, a big thing in life is keeping that balance of highs and lows just to keep a nice sustainability. Are you experiencing too many highs almost? Are you getting worked up, overwhelmed? Are you overworking yourself? I mean, what's
Definitely
really going through your body at that point?
Right. So after starting Car Accident Solution, it was my first time to really start working with the team. And I really started, so when I was working with my dad, it was just me and my dad. We were solo running together. Yeah, we're together, but it was just me and him. He was doing him, I was doing me. But I feel like I started Car Accident Solution. All of a sudden, we're working with the team now. And I started the Movement Monday concept. I started really grinding harder than I ever have before. Kirby Better, when I first started, I was still getting up. I wasn't waking up at 5 a.m. like I am now before the sun. I started grinding harder than I can imagine. I started putting all this, what they told me, my OCD, I started putting that and showing people that it's a strength. And people still don't see it yet, but the systems, the processes, the structure, the organization I'm putting into these businesses that I'm creating is my greatest strength. So I started to just develop all these things, transferring from a personal iCloud account to a business Dropbox. We don't need to get into all these details, but I started to really grind. And every single day for like 6 months, I was grinding my butt off. And I just remember beating myself up a whole lot though, because I felt like I was working so hard and I was such a fast-paced, high-energy person. I wanted it to come right away. I wasn't technically enjoying the process. Maybe I had moments of inspiration, but overall I wasn't enjoying the process. And I was beating myself up. You got to get better, Kirby. You're not good enough. You got to get better. And it was getting harder and more challenging and more hard and more challenging. And eventually, I was caught up in the grind like a lot of other entrepreneurs out there. I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs get caught in the grind. You're just like, when is it going to end? When am I going to get the results on paper? And I'm standing here before you today, 3 years into Kirby Better, and I still don't have the results, because it's not the results that matter. As my friend who owns the Maxed Out brand, as he says, you can't control your results. All you can do is control your effort. And if you give it everything you have every single day, you best believe that you're going to get to where you want to go, and you're going to eventually get those results. But that's not what matters. It's the effort and what you become every single day. But I just remember one day I was beating myself up, and I just was having one of those days where I was super hard on myself. And I feel like it is good to be hard on yourself. As the great Zig Ziglar says, the harder you are on yourself, the easier things become, something along those lines. But I just remember I was beating myself up mercifully. And I woke up one day, I didn't even want to get out of bed, but because I was inspired and because I was moving in the right direction, I kept going. And I said, man, I need another one of those signs, God. Give me a sign that I'm moving in the right direction, because I'm not feeling it today. I'm struggling, okay? I'm hurting inside. And the higher power told me to go pick up this book right here from Dr. DeMartini. And when I first got this book, I read 50 pages exactly. And I had this book sitting right on my bookshelf, and it was bookmarked to the page that it is right now. And in that moment, I was just telling myself, you're not good enough, Kirby. You're not freaking good enough. You got to get better. And I picked up and I flipped to right where I left off in this book. And this is what I read. This is the first page that I read when I was asking for that sign. And I said, God, give me a sign. I'm beating myself up. I'm not good enough. I got to get better. And I'm going to read it to everybody out there right now. People who say, I can't wait until my life gets better, or life was better back then, are living in a temporary myth of powerlessness. They constantly disempower themselves by thinking that life is not magnificent now. But truth and power are present when you acknowledge that life is magnificent now. If you train yourself to live only in the past and future and don't appreciate the now, then tomorrow and next week and next year, you will still be living in the past and future, and you may never embrace life in the present. This is where it gets really good, guys. Anything you don't love, you will try to change into what you think would be better. And I want to read this to you one more time. This is in parentheses. The man who helped ignite Kirby Better put in his book, in parentheses, be better. Anything you don't love, you will try to change into what you think would be better. But your idea of better may be an illusion. The term better assumes that life is not magnificent the way it is, but the way it is may be perfect after all. Love and appreciate today as it is, and you are granted the power to make it what you would love it to be. Appreciate and love make true life. Without them, you are just living in quiet desperation instead of having a life of abundance and inspiration. And in that moment, shock waves went through my body. It was another one of those massively big moments in my life. And it just let me know that this word better, I wasn't looking at it the right way. And that's what I keep telling everybody out here. I'm telling you right now, you're perfect. Nothing is missing inside of you. You have everything inside of you that you need to achieve all of your wildest dreams. And I didn't know it. I kept telling myself over and over, you got to get better, Kirby. You're not good enough. But I am good enough. I'm freaking perfect. And the goods, the lows, the ups, the downs, it's all perfect at the end of the day. It's all part of this grand organized design. And I realized that in that moment, and I'm getting chills through my body as I'm saying this right now. Life is freaking perfect. It's not supposed to be a one-way street of all these good things happening. It's about both sides. It's about the ups, the downs, the good, the bad, the light, the dark, the challenge, the support. And that's what I realized. I said, I'm telling myself every single day, Kirby, you got to get better. But what if I just went inside myself? And what if I just realized that I just need to get more in tune with who I am and what I want, and I'm actually perfect. And that's what I mean when I say see you at the top. I'm not saying you're not good enough, keep going. I'm saying that you're perfect. Realize that. Realize who you are. Identify your highest priority values and just get in tune with who you are and what your intuition's telling you, and you're perfect. And then you're going to start to grow. Because if you beat yourself up and say, I got to get better, life is not good enough, then you're not going to grow and you're not going to evolve. But when you realize that you're perfect, then you start to grow.
Right.
That's good stuff right there.
That's perfect. And, you kept bringing up growth. What type of growth have you had, throughout this process?
Right. So the growth that I've had is, man, I can't even put it into words. And as you know, you've joined the team, and I'm honored to have you on the team. We've had some great synchronicities, as you know. MJ, 23, let's go. North Carolina, straight out of Oregon. We're just getting started. And I've had more growth than you could possibly imagine. I can't even put it into words. You just saw actually today for the first time my first few Tip of Tuesdays. And you look at me now and you're like, dude, you're a whole different person. That's what it's about. But if you look at my social media, if you check it out, you'll see that I still have 1,800 followers. You'll see that I have a couple thousand on Facebook, maybe 5,000 to whatever it is. You see that I have a very small amount of followers and likes. But I have built a brand, which I'm proud of. But the bottom line is the growth that I've had inside. In these 3 years since I started Kirby Better, since I started aligning with my values and crafting my entire life around what my values are, and I started doing what I love and listening to all these basic philosophies that are easy to follow, I've grown more than you can put into words. And that's what matters, okay? The 20 million followers on Facebook doesn't compare to the growth that I've had inside. And I'm very in the moment right now as I'm saying this, and I'm very proud of the growth that I've had, and I truly feel like I'm just getting started.
Right. And, to bring back, echo your point about, enjoying the process and talking about, to talk about athletes, people ask, how's LeBron still doing it at 35 years old? How is Tom Brady still doing it in his 40s?
Ooh.
And, you look at them and you look at their interviews, LeBron's still spending $1 million a year on his body.
Health is wealth.
He's still enjoying that process of doing it. Tom Brady says, I still love practicing. I still love getting better. And if you look at the Last Dance documentary, you mentioned MJ with one of our synchronicities. You look at him in one of those last episodes and, Ahmad Rashad's asking him, are you going to miss it? And he says, nah, I'm not going to miss it. I'm about here. I'm checked out. And he was ready to go. And that's really what the difference is. You got to still love that process and that enjoyment of getting better. It's not everybody's going to get up for game day.
Yes.
Right? Everybody's going to get up for payday, to kind of relate it more to us.
Right.
Everybody's getting up for payday. Every 2 weeks, we know that Friday's coming.
Right.
But can you get going those 13 days prior? And I think that's really where the process comes along too.
Very well said. And it's about that inspiration. Because if you're driven by motivation, by money, then you're needing something external. But if you find that energy and that inspiration inside, there are no limits.
We got a lot of information on Kirby Better. We're talking about your growth, you and your dad's relationship, all the way from the beginning of Kirby's life. It's crazy to see what you've become now because I haven't known you for a long time.
Right.
But luckily through these videos and these past stories, I'm able to see the type of person that you're becoming. I'm seeing growth in my life. And
I just want to congratulate you for jumping on board and growing, my man, because you've done 3 24-hour fasts and pushed yourself to grow and evolve. And it's because you're an inspired person and you are doing what you love. And you took Dr. DeMartini's value determination process, spiritual growth, business, and a few of these other things. You're on the right track. We're on the right track, and we're going to keep going. But the last thing that I want to leave you guys with is to take that step okay? Take that step. You cannot imagine taking a step in the right direction can get you more momentum in your life than you can possibly imagine. If I didn't take that step into listening to that voice inside of me, into listening to that inspiration and walk into that boxing gym, I might still be smoking cigarettes right now. I might never have chased my dream of becoming a college athlete. I might never have found business, started working for my dad's law firm, started becoming an entrepreneur and aligning with the best version of myself. And I might not be here with you right now, speaking in front of you, talking about my dream job and chasing it harder than I've ever thought imaginable, which is Kirby Better. So take that step forward and do it now. Because life is very short, life is very sweet. And what I told you guys in every single episode so far, and I said it before when I was very inspired in the moment, is that you are great, is that you are perfect, and you have everything you need inside of you to achieve all of your dreams. Nothing is missing. You are perfect as you are. Jordan, this has been an absolute pleasure. One last thing I want to do is I want to thank my mom and I want to thank my dad. I love you guys more than I can put into words, and I wouldn't be anything if it wasn't for you guys. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for not giving up on me. I'm going to do everything I can, and including my grandmother and everybody out there, I'm going to continue to do everything I can to make you proud. I love you guys from the bottom of my heart. Jordan, we're just getting started. This is the final third episode of my Kirby Better story. Stay tuned for what's coming. See you at the top.
I see you at the top. That's where I go. Hate me now.